Hi everyone, this is great looking out to all you guys. This is super fun. Sorry about the parking, that really stinks. Once you know it, they're doing all that construction when we're having our summit here. So sorry about that, but hello everyone. If you weren't here yesterday, I am Lisa Johnson, CEO of Bioforward, and again as yesterday, welcome from our staff, our incredible Bioforward team, our board of directors, to the second day event. We had a great first day opening, so it's really fun that this is now a two-day event. There, it's already up. So, had the song More Than a Feeling by Boston yesterday, and now had to play Bachman-Turner Overdrive, rolling down the highway. I know there's a lot of students here, you probably haven't even heard of that song, but that was a really cool song for me growing up. And I feel like, although it wasn't loud enough, I just gotta tell you, when we dance later, it's gotta be way louder than that. That is just not loud enough for me. But I'm like a racer. I don't know what it is with music, but it's like I'm at the gate, and I'm like, okay, I just need to bolt to this music and just get me out there. So I always have to have some fast music to get me going, because I think energy is incredibly important. You have to have passion, energy to drive things. So we replayed the personalized medicine video. We showed that last year. It's an awesome video. But we did show, because we already had shown the Tech Hub video yesterday. But we wanted to demonstrate that we have strength in personalized medicine. Last year, we were also waiting to see if we would be a designated Tech Hub. And since then, not only were we designated, which happened in October of last year, but also received phase 2 funding announcement in July this year. There we go. Thank you. That's way better than seeing me. As Assistant Secretary Killingsworth stated yesterday, we are in a very select group. It was a quality application, really high quality application, industry engagement. They were not investing to build an industry. It was already here. And why it is important that we make investments in an economic impact report every 2 years to prove with data how critical and important and that this is not a nascent industry. It continues to show incredible results. But Bioforward has not only focused on the Tech Hub during these last several months. It has been very crazy. So we are also implementing a new website that should be live in the next couple of weeks. So here's a couple of screenshots. So very excited to get that new website up and going. And we've been working on the economic impact report for many months. Bioforward and WDC invested together to hire Techonomy again to conduct this important biennial research. This is from our executive summary in our report that you're going to be getting. Again, there's a QR code in your book to see more of this. So this is just that summary that I was going through yesterday. But some new charts also, where you can see we're up in many of the areas. These are some key economic data where we're looking at employment, awards. We're up in everything. You know, degree graduates kind of level. And unfortunately, the one area that we are hurting is certainly in investment capital. I love this chart too, just like I was saying against the US yesterday, how well we are doing against the US in key sectors of the biohealth industry. This is just a snapshot of Wisconsin. And look at that trend for the last 5 years, how much our industry is up versus other key industries in the state of Wisconsin. And then look at total industries for the state of Wisconsin. We read about these worrisome trends for Wisconsin. And this is why it is critical that we have these tech industries in Wisconsin, like the biohealth industry, because these are our high growth areas that help carry the state forward. So I think that is also a great chart, and there's many more. It's a thick economic impact report that you're going to be getting. And then the sessions are coming up. So with Sara Mann, we have a great morning with the keynote. The Pioneering Sustainability with Amplify is going to be a great session. Turning corporate sustainability as we look at our buildings, having more sustainability efforts around that. Of course, the Tech Hub, we have a major focus more on the workforce development project with that session. Our student competitions is awesome. I'm so proud of these graduate and undergraduate presentations. Our awards, oh God, these are two awesome women. Can't wait for that session. Again, bringing in ESG, again, some more of the sustainability, different aspects of that. Fighting nuclear, we had a theranostics a couple years ago. Sue Wallace is helping moderate that. One of the favorites is our emerging growth company presentations. And then we have the French connection coming in to end it all. And that will be a great ending keynote. So this is different this year where we have a big vendor fair. There wasn't a lot of time yesterday after our session. Everyone kind of rushed to the reception. I get that, that was great. But again, we have networking sessions built in this morning, and then even a little bit longer one. Go and check it out. Meet with these different companies, the universities, education institutes are there. I mean, those one-on-ones are such great connections to have and potential for future partnerships. So make sure you're going through all the aisles to check out everyone that is in there. And I got to thank all the sponsors. We did this yesterday. But again, thank you so much to all the sponsors that we can create this event each year, especially having this larger event. Although Bioforward, as stated yesterday, is not really an event organization, but we do know these major events are important for us to come together, network, as I was saying, be connected to one another, to be educated on best practices, to take pride in one another's accomplishments. And so from our networking to student registrations to swag, thank you so very much. And it's just fun to see all the different companies too, just how broad this is and just the diversity of our companies. It's just fun to see all those logos coming up. And again, we can't exist without our medallion members. We thank you so much, but again, as yesterday, thank you to all of our members. It's why we can do the things we do, and it's why we can invest because of all of you. So thank you. All right, gotta have my story. All right, and then I'll get away from the podium. So we know Lisa always has to have a story every year, but no animals. So I live in Stoughton on Lake Kegonsa, and in southeast Dane County, it's darker than in Madison during the evening or early morning. So this was last week. I'm taking my old black lab down the stairs, and I'm always looking up because it's pitch black, seeing the stars at 5:30 in the morning. And I look up, and I'm like, well, that's cool. Okay, and let's just say, Lisa's no good with an iPhone camera. This was really quite gorgeous, and it doesn't do justice. But, so it was a halo around the moon. And I'm like, well, wow, that is super cool. That is really almost magical, having that moon collaborating with Earth to put this halo and look down on me. And I'm like, thank you. That is a great way to start my day. But on October 10th was something way more special. So who saw the Northern Lights on October 10th? Was it unbelievable? So I don't know if you heard this. The meteorologists talked about two events. They talked about a comet, and I forget the name of the comet, and they talked, and oh, there's probably gonna be Northern Lights between 10 and 2 in the morning. I mean, give me a break. I'm not getting up, and furthermore, I've heard this before, and they're never there. So I'm like, I'm just gonna find this comet. So my son happened to be home on that Thursday night. My husband's in Iowa visiting friends. Big mistake, because he didn't get to see him. And so I said, Eric, let's just keep going out. We kept going out with the binoculars, looking to the western horizon. Yes, I think we're gonna see the comet. Never, we weren't gonna see it. So it was a little after 9 o'clock, and I say to my son, I'm gonna try one more time for that stupid comet. So I go down, I have the binoculars around my neck, and I'm walking down the stairs. So we face the north on Lake Kegonsa. And so I'm walking down the stairs, and I look up, and it is raining colors on me. It is just raining. So the green, so when you're looking north, you see the green. And I'm like, I'm screaming, Eric, you gotta get out here, you gotta get out here. And 2 houses down, Lisa, do you hear that? Do you see that? I should say, do you see that? I'm like, I know. And then another neighbor this way, do you see this? And so we're all screaming at one another. Obviously, none of us have seen this. We weren't the lucky ones for the other times. And I'm just like, this is so inspiring. This is so unbelievable, the creativity that is happening here. And we just were in awe. And the other thing that was so cool, and for the ones that saw it, wasn't it like a plasma? It was just rotating. And so the green, it would shift, it would get a little dark, and then it would get real bright green, and then it would shift over with the reds. And again, the purples were happening in the eastern sky. And then it all came above us, and it just kept moving as if falling on top of us. It was one of the most unbelievable things to be standing there with that happening. And so I'm like, thank God that the sun throws this energy out, and Earth is grabbing this and going, all right, I can do something with that. I can do something. I'm creative. I have some artistic talent. I'm going to throw this right to Wisconsin and show you what I got. And I thank Earth and Sun for doing that together. So that's just like our industry. It's just like our industry. How we collaborate together. We have the most amazing research institutions in this state. We have unbelievable R&D coming out of our companies. It's that innovation, collaborating with companies, taking that to market, getting that out, taking that creativity and making something of it to improve our healthcare is what they're doing. So today you're going to be hearing a lot about that. Sara Mann's going to start us off from Promega. Go onto their website. It is unbelievable. Talk about inspiration, boldness, creativity. It is about exploration. And Corinne and I can tell you also from being in a startup, it is always about, almost like that plasma, if you aren't changing like every single day, you go down. You do not survive. And even larger company, even a Promega, if they aren't, that's why they say it. We have to be bold. We have to ever change, because if you don't, you're not going to make it. Well, that's our industry. Our industry is moving. We're ever changing. We know it, and we can compete with that. And so listen to these sessions today. Go to a lot of different ones. And the ones you can't be everywhere. We can't split you up. We're videotaping. You can see them later. But go to some different ones and take it in and see what's happening here, from whether it's an individual, their research is going on, to products, to sustainability, the young companies that are presenting, the awardees. Their souls are creativity. Sue and Cece are creativity just embedded in them. Take that all in. So I hope at the end of this summit, you walk away inspired. Just like this picture, and that you can see what I lived through that inspired me. But you know what? That went away. That's gone. Enough. Earth said, that was it. That was my show. I'm done now. Not here. Not with Wisconsin's biohealth industry. We're here to stay, and we're going to be bigger and brighter than ever. Thank you. And now, which one should I do? Here? Here? Which one? Now I want to introduce Chad Eschler with Findorff, the sponsor of our keynote session. Thank you. And then change this one here. Sorry, I almost didn't introduce you.
No, you're okay.
I mean, that was nasty. I'm just
I
like
do know
running
a lot
off.
of people, but not quite everyone. So thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the Biohealth Summit. This is the first day 2 of a Biohealth Summit that we've had. As Lisa said, I'm Chad Eschler with Findorff Construction, and I'm honored to be here to represent the 1,300 men and women that have been building Wisconsin for 134 years. So last night, like the rest of you, I was having dinner with a friend who's a biologist and found out that they broke up with their partner who's a physicist. Apparently, they didn't have any chemistry. Come on. All right. Yeah, okay. For those of you that didn't realize, that's a joke. Yeah. The best thing about science jokes is the reaction, right? Yeah, all right. Okay. All right. I'm done. Over the 134 years in business, we've seen a lot of changes in Madison. But we haven't seen such a rapid change as we have in the last 15 years. In fact, this event used to fit in a small conference room within University Research Park. So kudos to Lisa and everyone in here for supporting this industry. It's been, speaking of URP, it's their 40-year anniversary, and the things that happen within the University Research Park, where they have the space for companies to grow. I think right now they have 126 different companies, 3,500 people working within the research park. All of us benefit from the work that goes on in Research Park, and I just want to thank everyone that's involved with Research Park and for what they do for the biohealth community. But with all this, all of this makes Wisconsin a top destination for companies to grow and prosper. Today, we're going to learn from Sara about Promega. They've been in Madison for over 45 years, and they continue to push the boundaries of science. And today, we're going to learn about how they use AI. It's not a conference nowadays if you don't talk about AI, right? So we're looking forward to hearing about how they're using AI. And I'd like to invite Sara Mann up to the stage to talk about what they're up to. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. It's great to see all of your lovely faces. So, as Chad mentioned, I'm Sara Mann. My title is Vice President of Commercial Excellence here at Promega Corporation. I've been at Promega for 20 years, and Chad and I were talking a little bit this morning how it's pretty unique to find folks that have been at a company for more than, let's say, 10 years. Chad has been at his company, was it 18 years? 17 years as well. So I think that just shows what we have here in Wisconsin is that great organizations that treat their employees really well. And I'll share a little bit more about that and Promega's values and cultures. My role at Promega, I lead a commercial team for the North America branch. I have responsibilities for our applied market segments and our clinical market segments, along with our, what we call our marketing services team, which is really around kind of like that marketing communications. I also sit on the board of directors at Promega as well. So again, I've been there for 20 years and I started in a sales role and just continued to move my way up. I had to move from Chicago. I am still a Bears fan and I'm still sorry for it every day. Okay, let's go ahead here. There you go, thank you. Okay, so what are we gonna talk about today? So I was asked to share a little bit about some experiences that Promega has with artificial intelligence. Please note, I am an AI enthusiast. However, I am not a professional person that knows all the ins and outs around artificial intelligence. We're just really excited to use it as a tool at Promega, and so I hope we can share a few examples where you can find some ways to relate it to your world as well. I will also talk a little bit about Promega, and I'll also explain a little bit about our culture and how that feeds into what we're thinking about from an AI perspective. So the agenda, the topics today look like this. A little bit of background on Promega. Some of you probably know a bit about Promega, but there's always something new learning that's happening within our organization. Why AI is important to our business, and I'll give some use cases, mostly around generative AI, but I will talk a little bit about some use cases in machine learning a little bit later in the conversation. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So who is Promega? So our mission is to provide innovative biological reagents and integrated systems used in research and applied technology worldwide. How did we get started? So Promega traces its origins to the University of Wisconsin right here in the late 70s. Our founder and CEO, Bill Linton, was a graduate student in pharmaceutical chemistry at the time. While talking with other scientists, he often asked them, what do they wish they had to make their work easier? This is a question we continue to ask people in research labs today. We sort of ask them what is your unmet need? What is something you wish you had today that you don't have? He learned at that time that they consistently needed consistent performing restriction enzymes that they had to use for all their molecular biology. So Bill said, cool, I think I can accomplish this. So the story goes, he asked the dean of the college if he could borrow some lab space to start making these restriction enzymes. And the dean agreed, and he said, you have 1 year, the story goes. He said, if you succeed, you'll have 1 year, and we're gonna have you leave. If you don't succeed after that 1 year, we're still gonna ask you to leave. So that was Bill's challenge. So he was off and running. Bill was walking around universities within the Midwest here, selling restriction enzymes out of a beer cooler, as the story goes. A year later, Bill moved his operations to Fitchburg and named the budding company Biotech. The name changed to Promega-Biotech in 1984, and ultimately we landed on Promega. The photo in this slide actually shows one of the early international initiatives by Bill. Bill's on the right-hand side there in the picture, working on developing a batch of enzymes with a scientist in the Netherlands. Promega Benelux, as we call it, which is in the Netherlands, this is our branch serving the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Belgium, was established in 1984, followed shortly thereafter by Australia. Bill knew pretty early on that we had to be global. We had to have a global footprint for us to succeed. And sales outside of the US reached $1 million in the third year, which is pretty impressive. So where are we today? Today we have 21 buildings on campus. Our annual revenue is exceeding $650 million. We have over 2,000 employees. We provide over 4,000 products to life science research and applied markets. Profitability continues to be an important driver for the organization, along with employee well-being as our most important element. If I look at pre-pandemic numbers, we were in the 1,700 person range, and we've been able to recruit and retain that talent since the pandemic. Just for some numbers here, Americas are growing around 0.3%, so we're just above last year growth. Europe is having a really great year at about 7% growth. PAC Asia is up about 4.5% growth. Some areas for those that are scientists in the room that we're seeing some really nice revenue streams this year include cellular analysis, sample prep, that was used a lot in the COVID time when you're having to extract DNA or RNA from samples. We call it genetic identity, which is our forensics group, protein analysis, and biologics. This map actually shows in the purple dots where our branch offices are. We have 16 branch offices, so like I said, we knew we needed to be global right from the beginning. These offices manage local sales and marketing. They also are really great at providing regional insights back to Promega headquarters so that we can adjust and be nimble and adapt to what the environments are asking for us. Our manufacturing headquarters is in yellow, or actually in blue. Yellow is our headquarters here. So we have manufacturing in Madison, San Luis Obispo, California, Shanghai, and Korea. Promega technology is used in over 100 countries and supported by authorized distributors, about 50 plus distributors. 53% of our revenue is coming from North America, Latin America, Middle East, and Africa. About 27% from Europe and 20% from PAC Asia, if you're curious about the breakdown. One of the things that I really like to highlight was in 1999, Promega decided to make an investment. We purchased that organization in San Luis Obispo, that blue dot in California. At the time, it was known as JBL. This site manufactures raw chemistry. And what we learned was that when we brought together our chemists and our biologists, the meeting of those two minds really brought something special and really helped us catapult us beyond the academics. It's critical for many of our innovations, which I'll talk a little bit more about today. Another key acquisition that Promega did make was in that South Korea in 2009. This site was manufacturing an instrument, which I'll show a picture of later, and that actually brought us into the instrument manufacture space as well. In Shanghai, we manufacture products mostly for our Asian markets out of Promega Shanghai. So what do we actually do here? So our products support research all the way we were mentioning back in that academic lab that Bill was talking to. We also still support many academic researchers here today. I'm guessing there's a lot, hopefully from the UW here right now. We also support research in pharma biotech. When I talked about that melding of the chemistry and the biology, we started engineering luciferase enzymes, and that's really, it proved to be very beneficial for people that are doing drug discovery and cancer oncology research. We've started and we continue to support researchers in the forensics community, and I have a few case examples that I'll show how important that is. Maybe there's some crime junkies in the room. We also really support, and I would say from the COVID days, what we've done in the clinical area too. So there's a lot of labs that needed to extract DNA and RNA to do different testing downstream, including COVID testing. So of course, we still support those industries. And we always are thinking about how we could leverage our technology into different markets. So we call that our applied market space. So think about maybe wastewater testing or looking at agriculture testing and different areas like that. We take our current technology and leverage them in other areas. So what is it that we actually sell? For those that haven't used a Promega kit or Promega Biology, we make liquids, reagents, we call them, that can help researchers understand the biology. These reagents are packaged in these kits, and then we also make instruments that those reagents are used on. Actually, the image all the way here to, maybe you could see, this is actually our newest instrument. We're launching it, I think it's this week. It's called our Glomax Galaxy. And this will enable researchers to image bioluminescence, which has been a really big challenge. There are some other instruments on the market that can do that, but this is Promega's first instrument that we're launching to also, when you look at it in a plate reader, you want to actually look at your cells, so now you can image it on this instrument as well. Some really exciting stats that we're excited to share about from our manufacturing and logistics team. So we manufacture 85% of the products that we sell. We have 800,000 square foot of space dedicated to manufacturing needs, and about half of that, so about 450,000 square foot, is reserved for future expansion. So we have a lot of room to grow, and that's great that we're in Wisconsin because we actually have the space for us to grow. Many of the raw goods that we use in our manufacture process come right here from the Midwest. Half of our suppliers are located within 50 miles of Madison, and average leadership within this space is actually at least 15 years. So I showed you all those different places that we ship to. Well, within that, we have a 99.9% shipping accuracy. This image actually on the, if you could see here, it's a wall here. That's actually our Kepler facility, which is located right on Nobel Drive in Fitchburg, maybe by the Fitchburg Library if a landmark might help you understand where we're located. We also invest roughly 12% of all of our revenue, annual revenue, directly into R&D, which is above industry standard and shows our commitment and constant focus on innovation. Promega's technologies, such as our nanobret technology, empower researchers to drive scientific advancement. We observe protein interactions in living cells, facilitate breakthrough cancer biology, and include targeting and degrading challenging cancer-related proteins that were previously deemed undruggable. We're helping researchers find areas to research in that space. So it goes without saying, I think my quality team would be frustrated if I didn't also acknowledge that we do this and we're committed to quality and support. We have a quality management system in place to maintain our focus and attention on meeting the needs of our customers. Collaborations are key. We love to have people come to Madison. We love when people can visit us and interact with our scientists. And we welcome any of you to our campus. We're happy to give tours. It's a special place to be. So here's some of the things that we are involved in. Last year alone, we published 12 different peer-reviewed journals, including in Nature and in Cell. Many of these papers actually resulted in collaborations between Promega research groups throughout academics and industry. For instance, if you look at that first publication, Promega's technology was incredibly useful in this research. It provided the tools needed to test a compound that could act as a reversible male contraceptive without affecting hormones or causing significant side effects. They used Promega's kinase selectivity system. This system allowed them to test their lead compound against a panel of 192 similar proteins or kinases to ensure that compound did not affect other proteins and that it was safe in mice. This technology also works in living cells, in which that can provide some more accurate results on how these compounds will behave in a real biological environment. We also host many in-person learning collaboration events. So we have a Korberg Innovation Seminars. We've actually hosted 19 different visiting professors at Promega. We also have hosted two different symposiums on target engagement, targeted protein degradation. We've had 5 symposiums. We've brought in 76 researchers for each of those symposiums. People from San Diego, Michigan, of course UW, have all come in for many of those symposiums. That's actually how we started our International Symposium on Human Identification. And I'll share some AI use cases in this one, which is pretty fun. That symposium started 35 years ago, and we were hosting it in like a small venue outside of Promega, just similar to your story about how this group has started. And that symposium last year hosted 1,000 people, and it was in San Antonio. So it's grown since that. We hope to see some of our other symposiums grow beyond where we're at currently today. Culture is really important to us at Promega. I'm sure it's important to you at all of your locations as well. The Promega culture is based on creativity, promoting growth, prioritizing and balancing flexibility to support overall employee well-being. We put into practice resources like an emotional and social intelligence program, a wellness center for non-emergency needs, including physical therapy for husbands and wives and partners, and we also offer some support for children too. We offer volunteer programs, paid off time for those that have an interest in their own community outreach. We actually give them time off for doing that. We have third spaces for creative thinking. We have physical fitnesses in most of our facilities. We, of course, offer student loan and educational support. Promega is also an active supporter in our local communities too. We have food drives, we have active engagements with organizations for the advancement of scientific education. Some of you might have taken in our science for non-scientists courses, or maybe your kids have gone to the BTC for isolating DNA from strawberries. So we offer a lot of these programs for the community in the area. We are committed to sustainable goals as well. So Promega has committed to using 100% renewable electricity by 2025 to reduce carbon emissions. Currently, 75% of electricity is used from renewable sources due to recent investments in on-site generation and partnerships to source renewable energy globally. As we look to the future, we are aiming to realize our most ambitious sustainability goals to date. Each of these metrics is indexed to revenue over 2019 baseline. And in order to achieve these goals, we're making investments in renewable energy, we're minimizing resource consumption, and exploring strategies for reducing the environmental impact on many of our core products and technologies. Over our 225 acres of our land is dedicated to green space. And we actually have a design review committee which applies to our architectural landscape to create standards to make sure that we are leaving our nature impact and that we are making sure that this space feels like nice in combination with nature. We are also looking to gain ISO 14001 by the end of this year. And of course, we're always trying to reduce our emissions and water usage and reduce landfill goals for 2030. Another pretty cool perk is that we have farm to table. So Promega has a Promega farm here, which is really exciting. So we have it's called Daily Fields. We have our own agricultural operations specialist, Mike Doherty. This allows fresh food for our employees, even in the winter, because we just built a greenhouse. And we also contribute to soil conservation as well. By fostering resilient soil, encouraging biodiversity, and avoiding these fences and repellents, it promotes harmony with local wildlife, which also helps support Promega's broader sustainability goals. Okay, that's a little bit about Promega, and I'll incorporate some of that into additional use cases around AI, but I think maybe you're curious to hear a little bit more about AI. I just described our culture. Perhaps you're sitting there thinking, that's pretty cool. It's unique. But we care about employees. We care about innovation. We care about our social impacts. And I'm sure many of you do. However, I do think we are special in some of our ways. How we run our business, how we're here for the long-term goals. We have a 100-year plan. Adds to that special feeling when you come to Promega's campus or when you meet anyone that works at Promega. AI is just another tool that I think Promega is specially addressing. Our CEO jumped into it really quickly, and it's pervasive throughout the organization. I'm going to touch base on how AI is contributing to every major part of our business, from sales, marketing, R&D, operations, sustainability, our ESI, emotional social intelligence, quality, and global connections. I'm going to start with a few teasers, just a fun couple examples. All right, that's our new animated logo. It's supposed to feel ooh, ah. Maybe I'm a little more excited than others are. So, for example, we wanted to create an animated logo. We've had a logo forever, and we wanted to kind of give that Netflix vibe or HBO vibe to it. And so, as we were looking to explore this, there's people that specialize in this. You could pay consultants to do this, or there's AI tools that now can do this. So what we did was we worked with a tool called Beethoven, and we just put in a prompt, and we tried to explain, what we feel is our culture and how we want to come off to others in the community, and it created this logo with us in about a month's time frame once we got that through. So saved us a lot of consulting fees, and it was able to just accomplish some small tasks that will be meaningful for our marketing teams moving forward. I hear often, oh, but gosh, it's like the images are just, ugh, they're so bad. DALL-E's not there yet. It's taking forever. And yeah, this is a prompt by one of my colleagues. He said, draw a laboratory environment, automated lines. He put ultra realistic. I don't know if that's ultra realistic if you work in a lab. However, in September, we went to another program called Midjourney, asked the exact same prompt, and that's the exact picture that it came up with. So I feel like that's pretty inspiring to see how quickly AI is changing. And of course, there's going to be different programs and different tools, and I'll highlight a lot on what we've been using with OpenAI, but there are many other options available, and you can start to see how quickly things are evolving. Okay, my final quick show and tell. This relates back to that issue symposium that we've been having for 35 years. So, do you ever go to a meeting and you get a trip report? Sometimes maybe it's a couple pages long, maybe a little bit of a tiring read. Well, Google's Notebook LM allows you to take content and turn it into a podcast. And I'm going to show you what the podcast sounds like. So I'm going to lay the groundwork. We sent one of our writers to this symposium. She listened in on the session, she took notes, and she was writing a blog. So we took a three-page blog post that we were going to post on our website. We might have already posted it. And we put it into this tool. And we asked AI to summarize it. It created this 8-minute podcast in less than 25 seconds. And I'm going to ask them to play the audio just for about the first 20 seconds. Go ahead and play audio.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am so pumped for our deep dive today.
Yeah, me too.
Because we're getting into the nitty-gritty of forensic DNA,
It's such a cool field.
It really is. And, it's not just about dusty labs and microscopes, although those are cool too. But, we're talking about real stories.
Real breakthroughs.
Yeah. Groundbreaking tech.
And quest for justice,
it's like a puzzle and we're piecing it together.
Exactly. And it's always evolving.
Always, which is what makes it so fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every year.
Okay. That took 25 seconds to create. None of those are humans, I know. Those are just voices. We're actually going to test drive that on maybe one of our blogs to see. And someone mentioned something to me, a colleague of mine at Promega, is like, what's really cool about these tools is it's bringing accessibility to us. Like, maybe I can't read and I get tired or I get bored and I want to listen to things in audio, or I want to do it while I'm washing my dishes, or I have 3 kids at home and I'm trying to drive them to practices all hours of the day. And so I can throw some documents and it can create a pretty enjoyable podcast in about 25 seconds. So these are some fun examples that we're laying the groundwork for different areas that we're going in the future. Okay, so first I'd like to say, if you haven't read this book or heard of this book by Ethan Mollick is an associate professor who studies AI at Wharton. It's called Co-Intelligence. I think it's available via audio on Spotify, a shorter version too. He's done some interviews. He really brings AI, I think, to a place where we can all identify with it. And he talks about 4 main principles. Always invite AI to the table. So my kids, if they were here today, they would tell you that we talk about AI every day. I'm like frustrated sometimes because I'm like, you guys should just be doing this with AI, and I'm trying to navigate that with our school systems. But AI is a part of our lives. Every time I have a question, I will think about Google, but I'm more going to AI right now. A colleague of mine this morning just told me how she used AI to help her negotiate her bills down for her internet and cable. Like literally everything. So always invite it to the table. When we have it, trying to keep obviously like phone devices to a minimum, but have it at the table. Ask it a question. My youngest is so creative with it. She draws images all the time with it. My other two ask questions. So it's always a part of our conversation. And at Promega, it is too. We have it open. We're asking questions when we don't understand things all the time. Number 2, be the human in the loop. Everyone's kind of afraid of AI, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not. Like, it can't do anything without us. Like, it can't prompt itself. We have to prompt it. Even when we think about agentic behavior, it can't do anything without us setting those programs. So be the human in the loop. The third thing is you can tell it what kind of human to be, and I'll show a really cool case study of this that our CEO, Bill Linton, came up with, where you can actually have it act as someone else. So our R&D scientist loves asking it to be Richard Feynman, a physicist. We named one of our buildings after it. So he'll say, answer this question like you're Richard Feynman. The fourth thing is, assume this is the worst AI you will ever use. I showed you that picture, right, of the lab. That's a mid-journey program. Like, it's only going to continue to get better and better and better. And so the more we start embracing it, even though it feels a little intimidating, especially if you haven't started anything, like we've all been there. All feel like we have imposter syndrome. We're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just start playing around and let the creativity flow, and you'll start to feel like you can do a lot more things and let yourself be energized by some of the stuff that you can do. Okay, so how did we start on this journey? Our VP of R&D, Vice President of R&D, Pancho Meisenheimer, came back in 2023 in February, March timeframe, and he talked to Bill and a few of us on the leadership team and said, man, this AI stuff is pretty amazing. Like, this large language model from ChatGPT is something for us to look at. So at that time, we explored a few different options. We looked at Anthropic's Claude, we looked at Microsoft, we did look at Google Bard at the time, and we looked at OpenAI's ChatGPT. We are really making short-term commitments to these, which is opposite of our culture because we are so long-term focused, but because things are so rapidly changing, it's difficult to know what things are going to look like in the next 6 to 12 months. But we decided in September of 2023 that we were going to purchase an enterprise license with OpenAI's ChatGPT. We asked folks to fill out a justification so they could request the tool. They had to ask AI to help them write the justification, of course. And we started with about 200 licenses, and now we've expanded close to 1,600 out of our 2,000 employees have enterprise licenses. We went this route because we wanted people to be able to include their proprietary work into this tool. So we wanted to upload financial information, we wanted to upload contracts, we wanted to upload data, and we didn't want that data to be training the AI models that are out in the public. So we went forward with this, and OpenAI has actually been a really great partner for us. They're customer success managers. We've leaned on them a lot to help us over the years. And we really appreciate that their energy and focus is on research and development at OpenAI as well. So it feels like from a culture perspective, we have a nice partner. We've just signed another year to working with them. And kind of throughout this last year, we've been focused on doing office hours, or within departments, we're sharing best practices. And we're excited about some of the new features that ChatGPT is coming out with. Maybe some of you have heard about O1 Preview, which is a more advanced reasoning model. They have O1 Mini, and they just came out with 4.0, which is with Canvas, so you can actually edit within the response that it gives you, which gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom when you're working on crafting responses. We're also excited to hear about the roadmap. Being an enterprise partner, they share some early insights. They have a program called Sara that's coming out. It's going to help create videos. They've been publicizing it on their website, but haven't launched it yet. So those are the things that we're excited for in the future. So how many people are using some sort of AI, maybe just by raise of hands, like ChatGPT, Claude? Awesome. How about those, have you guys built any GPTs? Is that ringing a bell with anyone? Okay, a few folks. All right, so I'm gonna maybe just give a little bit of a bit more of a background here. So where generative AI shines includes many of these examples. So it's a great virtual assistant chatbot conversationist. People have been putting it on their websites when you have a question. Sometimes it annoys you, sometimes it works really well. It's great with code generation to start off as a baseline. Information gathering. This is another thing from his book. Like, if you like to write, from Ethan Mollick's book, you don't have to have generative AI write for you. You can have it do things like research and other things that maybe you don't love to do, those mundane tasks for you. Have it do the things that you are not excited about doing. Translation, it's been phenomenal. I'll show you some examples about how it's been really helpful for translation. And then also simulating and prototyping. So, when I think about it, or when I explain about a GPT is a specific tool within OpenAI's platform. They all have them though. Anthropic has its own, it's called Artifacts, and I can't remember what Google Gemini has right now. But they all have a similar thing. And what a GPT is, it's a set of instructions sort of that you give it. So I'll give you an example. For our brand guidelines, we have a lot of Promega Soul, like that yellow color that you see everywhere. We also have style and tone guides. So I don't want to have to tell ChatGPT every time I want to write something to use those guidelines. So you essentially give it a set of instructions. You build that into that conversation that it can leverage every time. And that's what a GPT is. And it's really important to understand that because it even helps speed your work up even further. So I'm going to explain a few of these GPTs that we're using, but we also just use like a normal chat, experience along with some of these GPTs. Okay, research. Some people, also just say like, okay, I don't have time, I don't have to sit down, I want to do all this research. AI is doing a great job of being able to find literature, look at different topics when you don't understand something. It should be your tool that you go to get a basic understanding. And remember to tell it, like, talk to me like I'm 12, talk to me like I'm a PhD, talk to me like I'm an 8-year-old, because it will help adjust the language and the examples based on some of that research. Translation, I talked a little bit about this already. So we have a group that needs to service and support our entire globe, including those that speak Polish. Well, we don't have anyone on our staff that speaks Polish. So we've been actually leveraging it to have conversations with our team members about speaking in Polish. And if you actually have the app on your phone, there's actually I'm not gonna show you, I can talk to you later about it, but there's actually a little icon that you can actually speak and have a conversation to it. And you could say, I'm gonna speak to you in English, please respond to me in Polish. And it will just continue to have that conversation. So you don't even have to deal with kind of that clunky, like you're gonna translate it and then it's gonna translate it back. It's just a complete conversation. Also, ESI, I talked a little bit about emotional and social intelligence here. Well, it's also a muscle that we continue to have to flex. We can say, we have all this wonderful training at Promega and we all walk around and we're not stressed and we never get frustrated with each other, which is completely not true. We have to continue to flex that muscle and remind ourselves that we are getting bombarded with so much information on the daily. We have meetings to go to, we have forums to attend, we have presentations to prepare. And so sometimes our email might get a little short with folks. So what are we doing? We're leveraging AI. We're putting these emails and these communications directly into our tool and having it review us and critique us. They'll give you some great edits and those emails will go off and it'll be received in such a positive way. We use it to brainstorm in a really fun way. So we had a sales meeting a few months back where the team asked it to say, we had to train our sales team into our CRM tool, and which isn't that exciting to train salespeople on using CRM. They never want to. And so we prompted GPT and we said, we really want to make this fun. We want to make it interactive. And it suggested an Olympic theme because the Olympics were going on. That training ended up being the top-rated training that we had throughout the entire meeting because of how well we integrated fun and activities. And the idea came from ChatGPT. Okay, remember when we said Ethan Mollick said to tell it what kind of person it is? We've been using it to help us with audits. So we had it review, critique our documentation as we prepared for an audit. The audit did happen, and we received high remarks on our process to prepare. They actually wanted to understand how we prepared, and we helped them know that we used AI to help us prepare. Of course, we are constantly changing and adapting in our markets. Lisa mentioned that in the opening. So we asked ChatGPT to be the master of change management. Help us understand how we can go through this documentation of change management, and so we're not forgetting anybody or we're not thinking about bringing people along for how we have to make the changes. We've also been leveraging it from a hiring perspective. We've created what we call a Promega Strategy GPT. So that has where we want to be in the next 5, 15, 25, 50 years. We kind of look at a quarter as 25 years. Bill likes to joke. And so when we have this Promega Strategy GPT, we put our future candidates into this GPT and we ask them how does their background align. We've put interview notes in. And of course, we still have to be the human in the room, right? We're still going to have to go through an interview. We can't only rely on AI as a part of these practices, but it really helps take a large portion out of that work and it helps us really combine all the different candidates that we're getting to move forward more quickly. Few more examples. Our sales teams are using it for prospecting, and I'm actually going to show a few screenshots of that one. But as you can imagine from a salesperson, we've got 4,000 products. It can be pretty time consuming to prepare for a conversation with many of the researchers. And many of the researchers we're talking to know so much about their research and we're just having to learn a lot about it. So I'll show you some examples of how one of our sales folks uses it to help them. Same from a marketing perspective. I mentioned how we already use GPT to put in some of our guidelines, and I'll show you a bit of an example of how we're leveraging this GPT to build all of our emails and marketing emails moving forward and just help from a messaging perspective. Business leader review. This is a funny one. So again, I mentioned Bill's been pretty excited about the use of AI, and every year we have to do MBOs, and he's got something like 30 direct reports that report to him, and we all have to create MBOs. So he created this GPT that actually scored our MBOs via like a SMART goal and how they relate to our Promega strategy. And in the GPT, it had us score it. So if you got an 80% or higher, then you could use those MBOs, and if you didn't, you had to rewrite them. So from a CEO's perspective, he was able to leverage this to really help take that time that he was reviewing, going over everybody's MBO to work with it. And it kind of gamified it. It was fun for those that had to put in an MBO as well. So where are we today with GPTs? We have over 1,000 unique GPTs being used, which is pretty impressive. And we have about 390 users actually creating these GPTs, which is about 30% of all of our people who have an enterprise license creating GPTs. We're also trying to understand from our employee base, how is this saving time? How is this affecting, your day-to-day? And what people are saying to us is it's saving anywhere between 2 to 10 hours per week. Now, people aren't finishing their days at 3 p.m. because they have 2 hours back of their life, right? That just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But what people are telling us is that they can use that time they're getting back for more meaningful work, for work that brings more value to them and to the organization. Of course, as a corporation, we'll take the gain in efficiencies, that's exciting, but people have also said they felt more fulfilled at the end of their work week because AI is taking away some of those mundane tasks that they don't enjoy doing. Okay, here's a few examples I showed you I'd share. So for those researchers in the room, you put your posters up in the hallway and we're all trying to learn the really cool science that you're doing. And sometimes it can be hard. So my colleague Mike here just took a picture on his iPhone and he asked ChatGPT to summarize it. So of course it does a really great job of summarizing this information. And then he asked it a little bit more, okay, this is great, but what Promega products might they be interested in? And what this does is it really helps them prepare and have a more meaningful conversation with that researcher so that they don't have to explain to us all the things that they're doing, and we can more quickly maybe identify where are areas that Promega could provide help for some of their unmet needs as we bring it back kind of all the way to the beginning there. Another example, actually, Jordan Villanueva is in the room today, so if you want to ask him about how he built this one, you can. We have been around for over 45 years, and we've had sustainability on our mind since the beginning. So sometimes when people are asking us, what are the top things you're doing from a sustainability perspective, this is a tool that anybody in the organization can use. Everybody has visibility to these GPTs and give answers. So I prompted it and just said, I'm meeting someone for the first time. What are the 5 top things I should talk about from an ESG perspective? Sustainable principles, employee well-being, community engagement, innovation, and long-term vision. So as you can see, those are part of the original slides here. That's kind of our corporate presentation that was spot on to what's in those slides. So those are just a few examples, and you can get that on your phone. You can have available when you're talking to anybody through these GPTs. Another example here is this marketing example. So Carrie wanted to build a GPT that helps you build more targeted emails for our scientific community. So first, this GPT is kind of clever. It asks you what you want it to do. So it starts asking you a bunch of questions like, what are you trying to do here? Are you making a, it tells you what it can do. I can make tailored email campaigns. I can do things for different audiences. And then it asks you to define, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals out of this? How can I help you succeed in your marketing goals? And then it even gives you some potential prompts. Hey, I want to do an email best practice. I want to write a product launch email. And it kind of just guides you through this whole questionnaire experience. And then eventually, when you start answering those questions, it essentially then puts out the email that you can then go and take and put it in your marketing automation tools from there. So those are some of the highest use cases that we're using that I thought I'd bring and share with you for some maybe potential inspiration. This has been another clever one. We're calling it the CEO GPT, but we're all sort of creating our own. So again, Bill's really into AI, and he wanted to sort of create a round table of experts for himself. And so he went to ChatGPT and he said, it knows him because he puts it in his instructions, but so he knows it's the CEO founder of our organization, and said, I'm trying to create a table of experts. Who should I invite to that table? So it iterates with him. It brings people in from the scientific community. I think Jennifer Doudna is on his table, of course. And then when he's consulting or having business conversations with any of us, he consults this as another party consultant group. And so now I've created my own CEO. I have more marketing folks in there. I have some different things related to some different goals that we have within our departments. And so we're all sort of leveraging this kind of concept to build these trusted advisors. I've talked a lot about actually OpenAI. I thought I'd mention a little bit with Copilot. For those that are a Microsoft shop, which we are, Copilot is built on the backbone of OpenAI's platform. So there's a lot of similarities, but it is its own kind of different entity. But we are leveraging Copilot. It's really helpful when we want to say, help me organize my week. What meetings do I have coming up? Where are some files for this meeting? Copilot does a really nice job in pulling those materials together. So I think it's important for you to be aware that right now you are going to probably have to experiment with a few different tools for you to figure out what works best for you. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just what works with your style. So as I look at where Promega is and where we'd like to be, we're kind of at this our CIO actually, sorry, put this image together, Sandy Gardner. We're sort of at this budding phase, this generative AI phase. This image was created with DALL-E. I think it actually did a pretty good job. And we want to get more use cases. But we want to move up into this advanced phase where we're using more advanced uses of AI for, within machine learning or data science. And then eventually, kind of when we want to grow up to be a big tree one day, we're going to really try to think about how we integrate that AI into data science and automation of our products. So that's sort of the future for where we want to go. I'm going to leave you with one final example, and then I think we have a little bit of time for some Q&A. Maybe some of you have seen recently that the recent Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to David Baker from University of Washington, along with Demis Hassabis and John Jumper from Google. Programs from their work, like AlphaFold, have enabled researchers to predict proteins' complex structure. And I'm going to give you an example of how that's helped Promega recently. So there are approximately 20,000 proteins from human species, roughly 80,000 variants of those proteins that can arise due to post-transcriptional modifications. There's roughly 1 to 2 million non-extinct species, and each of our species has its own set of proteins, and those proteins contribute to the biological functions. So essentially, if you do all that math, there are hundreds of billions of unique proteins from non-extinct species. It's a lot of proteins for us to explore. So this math underscores the untapped potential and vastness of biological diversity. Here's what we know today. 500 proteins have been targeted by approved drugs, 300 signaling pathways mapped, and only 20% of human proteins have assays that can be leveraged like Promega's that look in live cell assays. So to say that we need more tools in our tool belt is a bit of an understatement. I promise I'll get to the example next. So I'm going to talk a little bit about forensics here. In the forensic space, We probably have some crime junkies. As we think about a crime scene, we think about how you might have contributors to these crime scenes. So even just think about this podium. Like I've had my hands on this podium, Lisa's had her hands here, Chad. There's a lot of DNA here, right? Well, you get to a crime scene, that's why they try to minimize that. But let's just say there's 2 DNA profiles here that we're trying to understand. So there's a background from the enzyme Taq polymerase it's baffled forensic scientists for decades. This isn't anything new. It's just something that we've had to work around. So if you can imagine, like you've got this one contributor, and this is this background that we're not super happy with, but we've been living with for decades. And then you've got another contributor to this crime, and okay, when they're not together, okay, maybe you can figure out a little bit what's going on, but our poor forensic scientists are having to do this. When you get a mixed sample, you start to get a little worried. Is that a peak? Is that a stutter? So our scientists said, we want to get rid of that stutter. We want to do enzyme modifications to that so that we don't have that stutter anymore. And last week we announced that we have a product that we're getting in the hands of early testers that's called our reduced stutter. So you don't have to be a scientist or understand electropherograms to see the before stutter, no stutter. Before stutter, no stutter. So how did our scientists do this? At a very, very high level, I'm not the person that worked on this, but we can certainly get you in touch with them if you'd like to learn more. We did use that tool from AlphaFold, and we got to an understanding of the protein structures much more quickly and easily, and we were able to hone in combinations that AI predicted that would give us the best outcomes with the lowest amount of stutter. So this is a clear example of how that protein engineering, those folks that won that Nobel Prize, can help speed up science in a really meaningful way. We presented this at that conference a few weeks ago, and we heard words like this from that forensics community. So to say they're excited about this is a bit of an understatement. I hope I've inspired you with some new sources of AI inspiration. We continue to learn from each other every day. We'd love to hear examples that you all are using. It's a journey. I think I've shown today that there's no silver bullet. We're all learning together. This QR code actually links you to the initial conversation that Pancho Meisenheimer had about why AI is so important in our R&D. So feel free to click on that link and it'll take you to some different things. OpenAI is actually going to highlight some of our use cases in one of their upcoming webinars this week on Thursday. So you get to hear a little bit more about that, more on their marketing platforms. Promega has a booth here. We've incorporated a really cool bunch of sustainability, including some reusing t-shirts. If you want to go learn a little bit about that, you can see that here. Dan Modal is here speaking on behalf. He's a previous Promega employee of how to incorporate sustainability goals while designing facilities. So Promega is intimately involved in this conference, and we thank you all for your time today.
Just stay there. Am I on? Okay. Because I don't think we'll have time just to sit down, but just in case there's any question, we have time for 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone have a question for Sara? Otherwise, she's here, and like you said, she's here for a while, not for a long time, but you are here for a little bit. Does anyone have any question that you would like to ask? Go ahead.
Great job, obviously, on the presentation, and it seems like you guys are leading the way. One question that I wanted to ask was, what limitations or challenges did you guys face when you're trying to push this? I'm thinking IT, privacy, all that. Because I'm sure a lot of people here would like to kind of use this, but sometimes they're limited, especially in healthcare and whatnot. And then the other question was, are you worried about the model being biased over time, especially when it comes to, big decision making, because, it doesn't consider some things that we might be aware of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So some of the hurdles, I will say having a champion by our CEO helped. And I will say we leveraged OpenAI to show us a lot of their security measures that they had in place. So some of those big challenges, we did have to write a policy pretty early on too, so we actually leveraged AI to help us write that policy. But being a US company, I think places in Europe, like with GDPR, they're facing some different challenges. So the challenges do exist today, and we just have to keep taking them one by one and trying to balance what is that risk versus reward, right? We don't want to live in, I mean, we're an innovative company too, so we're kind of pushing ourselves on that boundary. And so having leadership champion it, I think is very helpful though, for many cases. There are some, I'd say, limitations that we're currently experiencing. We'd love for us to create agentic behavior where we could take information that researchers are doing, put it in that email marketing and even hit send, you know what I mean? But feel good about all that stuff. And we haven't quite got that all together yet. We've got some API integrations that we're trying to navigate. And that's honestly one of the biggest advantages of Copilot is that it's in our ecosystem versus using something like OpenAI, but it'll get there. There'll be tools and I think companies that'll come out and sort of kind of integrate that together. The bias question is a really good one. That one came up, it does come up a lot in the interview process and thinking about how does AI have its own bias? My answer to that is be the human in the room, right? I mean, leverage additional tools, make sure you have a broad, diverse interview committee, leverage the tools that HR is already using where you're asking similar questions so you're not introducing as much bias. It's a data point. I wouldn't say trust it 100% with your life. I'd say it's a data point. Just like if you and I were having a conversation and you told me something, you might get a few facts wrong, you're not 100% accurate in everything. I'd look at AI that way as well.
Great. Okay, are you inspired? This was awesome. Thank you for starting our day from Megan and Sara. Thank you very much. Yeah, so networking right now, our session started at 11, so it's not a long networking, and the vendor fair, so again, at the 11 o'clock we have 4 sessions. Again, we're also videotaping, so the Tech Hub is in the lecture hall. Corporate sustainability goals into project level actions, turning those into, that is in, look at your program, it's there. Look at the signs. Student competition, and then also pioneering sustainability through innovation, so 4 sessions, so. Oh, and cell phone, we still have 1 cell phone back there. So, thank you.